Hey, what's going on? Luke here, and we're here to do my tips and predictions for round 4 of the 2023 NRL season. Now, this past week, I've had a few hiccups in terms of the channel I'm making videos. My laptop died, I lost everything. But the one thing that did go right this week was my Bulldogs got the dub against the Tigers. Now, it wasn't the best of victories, but a win's a win, and I'll take it. Now, we're going to start off with the very first game of the week, which is a grand final rematch. I think we're all excited for it. I think we're all keen for it. It's the Parramatta Eels taking on the Penrith Panthers. It's on Thursday. It's a home game for Parramatta. And I will say, despite it being a grand final rematch, I'm not sure there's all that much hype considering the Eels go into this game 0-3. However, their record against the Panthers is fairly good. But I will say, Panthers coming off the bye, a lot of teams come off the bye and they end up absolutely destroying the side. So I don't like the Eels' chances for this one. I really don't. Just the week off, and also the Eels sort of not being under strength, but they just haven't been up to scratch this year. They've had some tough games. It's not like they've been getting smashed every week or anything like that. But the Panthers, they did look pretty good the last time they played. Obviously, they look so much better with Sonny Luke on the field. Mitch Kenny's kind of just there. Same way as he was just there when Coruscant was there. Now, I'm not going to say Sonny Luke's as good as Coruscant, but just in terms of once he gets on the field, they play so much better. So I think the Eels would definitely match it with them. And if the Panthers give them a sniff and they just try and, I don't know, if they sort of just try and grind out a win against the Eels, I'm not sure that's the right... I'm not sure that's the right thing to do. We saw in the grand final, they need to get off to a strong start. If they sort of just try, if they let the Eels go with them, the Eels will go with them and they probably will end up beating them. That's kind of just, the Eels just have the edge over them for some reason in terms of regular season games. Obviously, when it comes to finals and stuff, whole different story. But in terms of actually picking a winner, it's not so clear cut, although I've been talking very heavily in terms of Penrith being the better side, and I think they are the better side. The Eels themselves, they're still good. Dylan Brown's still been going good. Mitchell Moses is, he's all right. Gustin's been all right. Hodgson, another week in the new lineup. I'm not sure about Josh Hodgson. Reid Marnie's been killing it for the Bulldogs, and he's been killing it for the Eels. And I know Eels fans were like, oh, well, his shoulder. But I think we all know who's got the better deal out of this one. Hodgson didn't look that good for the Raiders, and I'm going to sit here and say he hasn't looked too flash for the Eels so far this season. But, I mean, they've been losing, so I'm not going to sit here and say it's Hodgson's fault. There's probably a number of things, but they definitely don't look as fluid and as solid as what they have in the past. And it probably is a lot to do with the service out of dummy half, because I think Reid Marnie has one of the best in the whole NRL. So, look, I'm going to go with the Panthers on this one. I wouldn't be surprised if the Eels break their duck this year and, they go 1-4, but same time, 0-4, man, that's a scary start for the Eels. That's a very scary start. And that could be enough motivation. That could be all they need, personally. But, look, I'm going to go Penrith. I'm going to go 1-12. I think it'll be a tight one. I think the Panthers side will look fairly comfortable, but I feel like the Eels will sort of get themselves back into the game. I'm saying 1-12 after I said they need to make sure it's not a close game, but I don't think it's going to be like a 1-point game or anything like that. I think it'll be, 10 points, something along the lines of that. Now, moving on to Friday Night Football. Now, this one is a very, very interesting and another exciting game for me, just due to the fact that both these sides haven't looked very good, but sort of, I was going to say uncharacteristically ungood, but the Tigers, it kind of is characteristic for them. But just going into the season, I think we all knew the Storm were going to struggle a bit, but I think we all thought that the Tigers were going to do a lot better than what they're doing right now. And I think like the Storm, I was going to say I think we're going to see a lot better result from them this week, but the Tigers did look fairly decent in the back end of last week's game against the Bulldogs, and I think a lot of it came down to just the Bulldogs getting tired and doing exactly what they did against the Storm. Funnily enough, both sides lost to the Bulldogs in the last 2 weeks, so look, I think Storm have the stronger side overall, despite Jerome Hughes. He's been named, but he's not going to be playing. He's out for 2 weeks. Cameron Munster has been named to return, but there's a little bit of question marks around him. Depending on what the halves combination is, I think the Storm should get the job done. Jonah Pezzett should come into the side, and he's apparently like a prodigy. He looked pretty good last week in his debut, scored a try. Apparently he's like a prodigy. I've seen highlights from him in the under-20 State of Origin. He absolutely killed it. But yeah, the Tigers, it says it all when Brandon Wakeham comes on. He's a Bulldogs reject. We've had some pretty terrible halves play for us, and he came on and he changed the game for them, literally. Him and Brent Naden. Luke Brooks still there. Adam Dewey moves to fullback. I don't really know if this is an improvement, but they've got to try something. So I guess they're kind of just throwing something at the wall, hoping it sticks. But in terms of going to Melbourne and getting the win, I just can't see it. Even if Hughes and Munster don't play, I think the Storm will get the job done. They've dropped Nofaluma, which for years I've always been like, Nofaluma, he's pretty good. I don't understand it, but yeah, just so inconsistent, man. But that just explains everybody in the Tiger side pretty much. But I'm going to go Melbourne Storm. I'm going to go 1-12 because I feel like Hughes and Munster won't play. And even if he does, it's Munster's first game back for a little while. So, yeah, I'm going to go 1-12 just to be safe. But, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Tigers win this one as well. Like, it's just how both of these sides have been this year. Now, moving on to the next game of Friday, it is the Dolphins in second up against the Broncos in first. I'm not going to get too crazy and talk about top of the table clashes or anything like that. However, like, factually, it is top of the table clash. It's first, second. Crazy. Who would have thought we'd be sitting here saying the Dolphins are in a top of the table clash? Going into round 4, like not even just like round 2, round 3, we're going into round 4. They've been very impressive. However, I will say things could be about to unravel. Like they really could. I know Bennett is a fantastic coach, but no Kafusi. They've been up for it in all the games so far. Obviously, the Roosters have been off big time in terms of what we thought they were going to be going into the season and what they've actually produced. The round 1 performance isn't that surprising after the last couple of weeks. You know what I mean? I thought the Roosters were going to come out and absolutely kill it. Obviously, wasn't the case. They got pummeled by the Dolphins, but they haven't been impressive in any of their performances. So, Dolphins are very good. But my point with it was that we're like, oh, wow, they got to win over the Roosters, whereas a fair few sides are getting wins over the Roosters at the moment. But yeah, the Dolphins have looked very, very good. The Hammers look very, very good. Jerry Marshall-Kings look quite decent. Haas look pretty good. But I believe Katoa is probably going to miss this game. And obviously, Felice Kafusi is out as well. So I'm just looking at what their lineup could be like. They've got Anthony Milford, who'll probably come in, I'd imagine. It'd be Milford or it'd be Nikorima. Or Nikorima is actually the start 9. I've got Jerry Marshall-King still out. So it will be Anthony Milford coming in for Katoa if he can't play. And just going up against the Broncos side, like that back line, man. Reece Walsh, Jesse Arthurs, Katoni Staggs, Herbie Farnworth, Selwyn Cobbo. That's a hell of a back 5. Even the forward pack. You've got Flagler, Payne-Arse, Capewell, Ricky, Carrigan. And then you got Billy Walters. But the rest of them, like, it's a pretty good team. It's a damn good side. Broncos should win this one. In terms of just being up for the occasion, I think the Dolphins will go with them. I don't see it being like a big blowout win or anything, but I'm so tempted to say Broncos 13+. But I mean, Broncos didn't look too flash last week, at least for the first half. They kind of got going, and once they got going, it was fine. But I mean, the Dragons haven't exactly been world beaters for quite some time, and Broncos did struggle against them for a little bit, but I think the Broncos get this job done. I think it will be a 1-12 victory. I think Wayne Bennett will be getting them really pumped up for it, up against his old club. Everything to play for. Kafusi being out, and Katoa probably being out as well. Even if Katoa's not out, like, he's still a good option. Obviously, he's the first choice. So, I think it's going to be a very, very good game. Obviously, the Battle of Brisbane, they're calling it, despite the Dolphins not having any location, I guess. But, regardless, I think it's going to be a great game. But Broncos, 1-12 for me for this one. Moving on to the next game. It is Super Saturday. It is the Gold Coast Titans up against the North Queensland Cowboys. A home game for the Cowboys. Don't know why I said the Titans first. But looking at both of the lineups, look, the Titans been fairly surprising this year, I will say. Getting a nice little win there last week. The Cowboys been quite disappointing. Tom Chester in at fullback, he did okay. Kieran Foran getting hooked. I believe he got hooked. They're trying to sort of say he didn't, but for me, it's like you took him off after 30 minutes. He had to have been hooked, but yeah, the Titans are looking fairly decent in 2023. I mean, I will say they're looking like the Titans every year. You know what I mean? Like, they come out one week, they look fantastic. You go, hey, the Titans are looking much improved. They're looking really, really good. And the next week, they come out and get smashed by the Cowboys. That's kind of just how they've been going. But the Cowboys, I feel like they've looked quite lackluster. I don't know if it's a case of they're not the surprise packet anymore. The draw might be a little bit harder, a little bit more trouble. I'm not sure what exactly is the reason, but they just don't look as on. I mean, they don't look absolutely terrible by any means, but just in terms of a top 4, some people saying they would be in the grand final, maybe win a premiership. They look a fair way off that. And even in terms of some of the other sides, like I was talking about the Roosters and, your Penrith side, the Rabbitohs, all them, we've seen little glimpses, and we've also been able to sort of look at them and be like, well, they should come good. We've seen how good the Cowboys can be. Is this going to be the week that they sort of get back to that level? I don't know. Are they going to get the win? I think so. I think being a home game for them, I think they're going to get the job done. I'm going to go 13+ because I feel like Titans, with how they are, they got to win last week. They're going to be full of confidence. Everything screams that this is a game that the Titans just come out and just shit the bed and get smashed. In saying that though, like the Titans are the sort of side where Dave Fifita can run amok, and got all those sort of guys. Brimson's been absolutely on fire this year. I've been loving Brimo at fullback, so I'm glad to see him back at fullback and not getting shifted around. I mean, they've tried to work out of position for Jaden Campbell, and it's really stuffed up the development of Brimson, in my opinion. Just play your best player in his best position. Like, stop trying to move him around. Leave Brimo there. He's your number one. But in terms of picking a number one, picking a winner for this one, it's going to be the Cowboys. I'm going to go 13+. I just think they will get going at some point. It's just going to be the game I've picked it to be. So let's just go with it. Could be eating my words big time with that one. I don't really have too much confidence in that, which is ironic considering I did 13+. Moving on to the next game of Super Saturday, it sees the South Sydney Rabbitohs taking on the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles. Manly have been looking fantastic. Rabbitohs, they nearly got the job done last week, but obviously they lost to the Roosters. They're playing with a pretty cool jersey to honour Sattler, who passed away. I think they're playing with like half a bunny, I guess, just to symbolise that he did pass away. So an absolute legend of the game. Always be talked about with the whole broken jaw situation and playing in the grand final and winning it. Will go down as a legend, not only for the Rabbitohs, but just in terms of rugby league as a whole. So I'm expecting them to do something pretty big for him. And like, I don't necessarily think that the Rabbitohs are going to come out and like get a win for him or anything like that. It's not like he's kind of a past player of like recent times, so I don't know how much the players sort of hold something to him. But in terms of Manly, like I think Manly have been looking very, very good. They've been looking very, very good, I should say. Like I don't want to say that, I really don't, because it's Manly. But Schuster coming back in, I wasn't sure what to expect from him. I thought, oh, he's going to be a little bit underdone. I mean, he hasn't really played 5'8" in the NRL. A lot of hype about him. He's made a lot of demands. He's got to come out and perform. He did. The little chip and chase. He didn't score it, but a little chip and chase there. A couple nice little slick passes. I think they look really good. Imagine just being Cooper Johns. You've been stuck behind Munster. You get to Manly. You think there's an opportunity. You play well, and then Schuster comes in and destroys in the first round. Yeah, poor guy. Although he just does make some entertaining Instagram videos. Go check out his Instagram. But the Rabbitohs up against Manly. In terms of picking a winner, Rabbitohs are actually the favourites, despite them being in 10th position and Manly in 3rd. And Manly haven't lost this year. I'm actually going to go Manly with this one. I think Manly will be right up for it. I know the Rabbitohs have been pretty good, but I don't like what I've been seeing from Cody Walker. I really don't. I know Latrell's going to be right up for it. And I think when Latrell plays, he's just one of those sort of players who you go like, oh, well, as long as he plays, they're going to be competitive. But at the same time, Manly have Tom Trbojevic, and he's been smashing it. Like, look at his Supercoach. Look at the scores he's been putting in. He's been making lots of meters, scoring lots of tries, setting up tries, doing it all. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from Manly. Is this a return to form for Manly from like years and years back? It could be. They're looking pretty damn good. And I can't believe I'm saying that about a Seabold coach side. But I'm going to go Manly 1-12. This will be a tight one, but I'm going to go Manly to win that, despite it being a home game for the Rabbitohs and, the occasion of Sattler. Now, just the 2 games for Super Saturday, so I guess it's not really that super. Maybe Super Sunday is probably more like it. We have 3 games for the Sunday. Starts off at 2 o'clock. We have the Warriors taking on the Bulldogs. Home game for the Warriors. You just know that you're going to get a tough game when you travel over to New Zealand and you play the Warriors in front of a home crowd, especially after all the circumstances over the last couple of years with the whole COVID stuff and them not being able to play at home. So it just means a lot more to them. I mean, they brought Sean Johnson home. They've got a lot of good players. They're a tough unit. I mean, Montoya's been killing people. Like, they've got a fairly decent squad. And I didn't think I'd be saying that sort of going into the season, but they performed pretty well. Wade Egan's been looking really good. But the Bulldogs were pretty good against the Tigers. I mean, it is the Tigers, but we've got 2 fairly decent performances against the Storm and Tigers, and absolutely outstanding if the game stops after 60 minutes. Been absolutely smoking sides early on, coming out, getting early points. We just haven't been able to maintain it, and I think that's, even like when we lost against Manly, the game was sort of in the balance, and about 60-minute point, it just blew out. It seemed to be a common reoccurring issue for the Bulldogs. And I don't know if it's going to change anytime soon. Probably not. But I think the Bulldogs are more than capable of coming out and putting a bit of a scoreline on the Warriors. But at the same time, the Warriors play that attacking style that I think could trouble the Bulldogs. A bit of free-flowing attack is probably the best way to put it. Sort of unorthodox. I guess what I'm trying to say is the Warriors just play ad-lib footy, play what's in front of them. And we saw the Tigers do that last week. They sort of stopped playing the structure and the Bulldogs really, really struggled. So maybe that's going to be the way to beat the Bulldogs in 2023. But I am going to be picking the Bulldogs. I'm a Bulldog supporter. I'm going to be picking them
1-12. Like, I think Bulldogs will get put a score on them, and I think Warriors will come back a little bit. Crowd will obviously get them all hyped up. We saw last week how effective it was for the Bulldogs. It's now the Warriors' time. Warriors going to have the crowd fully behind them, but the Bulldogs always have a good fan base in New Zealand as well. So I don't think it'll be like 100% Warriors or anything like that. But it is going to be a tough game for the Bulldogs. This is definitely a game, as a Bulldog supporter, I'm like a little bit worried about. No matter where the Warriors are on the table, you're playing them at home, they're going to be a tough game. So, yeah, Warriors obviously don't have like a star-studded side or anything like that, but I think they have been looking half decent, and I think the Bulldogs are going to win, like I said, but I don't really have a lot of confidence going into this game, as opposed to last week, where taking the Tigers, I was like, no, we're going to absolutely smack the Tigers, and then we end up winning by a couple of points in the end. But yeah, the Bulldogs picking up the victory in that one, according to me, 1-12 it will be. Now moving on to the second game of Super Sunday, I got to admit that sounds very, very weird, it sounds wrong, but it is what it is, 3 games, I'm just calling it Super. It's the Newcastle Knights taking on the Canberra Raiders. The Raiders have looked fairly impressive, I've got to say, going into the season. I didn't expect much from them. I thought they would kind of be shitty, if I'm being honest. I didn't really see enough from the Raiders side that screamed out like, oh, they're going to be a top 8 side, or, you know, they're going to be competitive with a lot of sides. Like, the forward pack's always there, but I thought the backs looked really, really weak. Obviously, Chan's moving on. I thought, like, something's not right about this Raiders side. They're not going to be picking up victories, and yet they have been. Obviously, they haven't been winning every week, but they've sort of been in amongst, at least in the context of most of the games, as opposed to the Knights, who find themselves in 14th. In my opinion, looked pretty terrible in most of their games. I'm just having a look at their lineup. Is Hastings actually playing? Tyson Gamble, Jackson Hastings are the halves. Yeah, just no Kalen Ponga. It really is going to hurt them big time. Like, it always is. It always was going to be a big loss, and I think, like, even though they didn't look too bad last week, like, they honestly didn't look too bad, but at the same time, they didn't get the win. And I think that's probably going to be the case this week. I know it's at Newcastle, it's a home game for them. I think it's going to be a very long season for the Knights. Even in games where they play pretty decent, they still are probably going to end up losing, and I think that's going to be the case here. I think they'll put in a half-decent performance, but you got, like, Phoenix Crosland's playing in a hooker. You got a combination of Tyson Gamble and Hastings, up against like Jack Whiten. Jack Whiten himself could run amok this game. I really think he can. I'm going to go Canberra up 13+. I think the Raiders, I don't want to say they're specials for this one. I really, like, there's no real clear winners this round. But for me, I think the Raiders, they should be the favourites. I think they are the favourites, and I think they'll get the job done. Like I said, 13+. I think they're finally going to get going, the Raiders. And just the poor Knights, lots of injuries. But Jaden Brayley's back this week at least, so I guess there's that. Moving on to the last game of the round. It's a rivalry game. At least it used to be a rivalry. I'm not sure so much these days if it's a rivalry, at least in terms of ladder and all that sort of stuff. But it's the Dragons up against the Cronulla Sharks. Nico Hines comes back into the side for the Sharkies. Obviously, Trindle's been doing a fantastic job. He ends up moving to the bench. Jack Williams is out, I believe. And that means Matt Moylan is in the starting side. I think Trindle's a much better player, to be honest with you. Like, he's younger. He's been a half all his life. Matt Moylan has had his chances. He's never really cemented a spot in the halves. Like, he's not bad. He's not a bad option. Like, at a lot of clubs, he probably would be your starting 5'8". It's just a matter that Trindle's been very, very good. His kicking game's been outstanding. And I think him coming off the bench, I don't see too much value. Whereas Moylan coming off the bench, at least he can play in the backs. He can play fullback. He can play in the halves. I know you can make the argument like they can just shift that anyways, but I feel like Moylan's more value off the bench, in my opinion. But even then, I don't even know if you go with either of them, in my opinion. But yeah, Braden Trindle, I think, should be the starting half, but he's not. Nico Hines is obviously going to be there. Dalian winner last year, and I think he's going to add so much to this side. I'm predominantly going to talk about the Sharks in this one just because Nico Hines is back and they are, in my opinion, the much better side. Dragons looked alright. They do have a very young side. I thought Sullivan looked pretty good last week. I was going to say last year. Last week, Sloan looked pretty decent. Just the team in general looked decent at times. It's just they couldn't hold on to, I don't know, to the form. They couldn't keep it together. And then also the Broncos kind of got it going. So, look, a big loss last week, but they did look decent at times. And obviously they've had a win this year, which is crazy to me because I didn't think they would. I thought they'd come last easy. So going into this game, it's like, I'm not going to say it's a sure thing the Sharks win, purely because the Dragons have actually won. So yeah, it's a home game for the Dragons. The crowd will be there. The crowd's always going to be there for a Dragons-Sharks game, but just Nico Hines being back, I think the Sharks are going to sort of kick into gear right now. I think they're going to win 13+. Anyways, those are my tips and predictions for round 4 of the 2023 NRL season. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you like them? Do you rate them? Do you dislike them? Do you hate them? Just let me know. Let me know how terrible they are, pretty much, is what I'm asking. Also, let me know your tips and predictions. Maybe even going forward. Just give me some tips, man. I need some help. I need some help big time. Anyways, I'm going to wrap things up here. Hopefully you did enjoy that one. If you did, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. You're going to see like a little graphic on the screen. We've upgraded a little bit. Use the notification bell. Don't rely on the sub boxes. Use that notification bell, never miss any of my videos. I feel like a lot of you aren't getting notified. So click on the little bell. It should help out a lot. Also, go ahead and give me a follow on social media. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke and YT for the most part. I've been saying on the most part for a long time because I had a Facebook, but I don't anymore. So it's just straight up Mr. Luke and YT on every little platform that you're seeing right here. Snapchat, TikTok, been posting on there a little bit. Instagram is probably what I'm most active on. Go ahead, give me a follow, give me an ad, and become a member of the channel as well. There's exclusive perks. I'm probably going to be doing some more exclusive member strings, maybe even like a little podcast just for members as well going forward. So definitely go ahead and become a member. Also is big for like the streams and that sort of stuff, which I've been doing fairly frequently. So go ahead and become a member, support me, support the channel, and thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more content on the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. See yous.